For this video, I'm going to show you how to run the software, and we're going to demonstrate the trial mode and a quick rundown of how you use the software so that you can evaluate it and see if you think it'll meet your needs. So I'm going to go ahead and start the software. And since this version isn't licensed for this machine, it asks if you want to run it in trial mode. Just choose yes. You can read the little note here and go ahead and choose trial mode. Now notice up at the top it says trial mode, and if we go to about, notice that it is unregistered. Basically, when you're in trial mode, you're limited to only being able to look at the sample files that come with the software distribution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you briefly just a real quick overview of how you use the software and get some curves up here so we can look at it and you can evaluate the software. First thing you do is choose select file. You're going to have to navigate to where your software was installed in the sample directory. As you see, mine is defaulting right here, and here are the 4 sample files. You may or may not have 4 sample files depending on when you acquired your version of the software. But I'm going to choose the first sample and choose open. You'll notice down here that the data is loaded into this little mini data viewer you can use to view your data. Notice that the date is consolidated into a date and a time automatically from your redline file. Next thing we want to do is we want to show some curves. So the simplest way to do it, I'm going to demonstrate this with multiple curves. So the curves are placed onto the graph in a Z order, with the first curve that you add to the graph being in the front and subsequent curves being added behind it. So one thing I want to do is, I know that this V main curve is going to be my larger curve, so I want to add it last. So I'm going to choose the line 1 curve, and I'm going to leave my line style at auto. Choose add curve. You can see the curve's built and it's added to the graph. I know that doesn't look like much and you can't really see anything from it, but we'll get to that in a minute. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to go down to line 2, and I'm going to add that curve to the graph. If that curve is added, you really can't see it because of the other curve. I'm going to go ahead and choose V main, add that curve to the graph. You can see some of the data that's sticking up back here in the back. Now, to make sense of all this data, you notice we have 259,200 data points on this graph. And the problem most people find is when they load their files into Excel or something and they look at a graph, well, you end up with a bunch of points and you really can't tell anything from them. So in order to make this usable, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my left mouse button and I'm going to drag a narrow vertical box around some of these data points and release. Now what that does is effectively zoom in to the proportions of the box that you drag. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing again, a little bit wider this time, and I'm going to go all the way from the top of the blue curve in the back and capture this pinkish curve that's in the front. Release the button. Now I have zoomed in and changed the scale on my graph and the aspect ratio of what's been drawn, and so now you can clearly see the data points from my 3 graphs. The legend at the top shows you that this was line 1, this magenta color, this aqua color was line 2, and the blue curve is the V main in the back. In order to navigate around so you can view your data, use your middle mouse button, hold it down, and drag left to right or up and down. You can use that to navigate the graph. You can also use the mouse wheel to zoom out and zoom in. So maybe you want to zoom out and you're looking for something maybe obscure or an anomaly you're trying to detect. You can see we shut off right here. Um, if by chance you get your graph like really messed up, and maybe you're just zoomed in on a very small point of the graph or something you want to get back, you can just use unzoom. Or if you want to get back and just clear all your zoom in, all your aspect ratio changes, just right click in the graph and choose set scale to default. And you'll notice that it defaults back to our original graph. Once we're done, if you're done with this and you maybe want to open another file or look at something else and you got to get rid of these curves, one thing I will tell you, these curves, if you look at this point, this is from 4/29 of 2015. I could open in another file. Say I had some more points that went with this, and I opened another file and I pulled it up and I grabbed some curves and I threw it on there, and I look and I can't find them. I zoom out and I can't find them. One of the reasons may be is it's a different date, and this thing could be way down here in the future or way back in the past. If you zoom out, set scale to zoom to default, you would be able to see those. But just keep that in mind when you're looking at files. The date is very important because your x-axis down here is your date and your time when looking at these files. So your data points may not coincide. Sometimes to see the data may be superimposed on this data. You may have to manually go in and change your file and change the dates so that they coincide with this data here, and that way you'd be able to superimpose it on top of this. To get rid of these and start over and you want to do something else, just simply click clear curves. All the points will be erased. That's it for your basic tutorial. Please look at our site and look at some of the other tutorial videos. We're going to cover some of the other features of this software and show you how to use it. Thank you.